So as of this week, we have all of our original haunted houses officially announced for Halloween Horror Nights 34. El Artista, A Spanish Haunting, Hatchet & Chains Demon Bounty Hunters, Dolls Let's Play Dead, Grave of Flesh, and Galkan Monsters of the North. And what an impressive slate of originals this is. This video here is going to be breaking down what we know about these haunted houses coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year, but also connecting them to the overall theme, the overall vibe, and maybe finding some thematic connections outside of the obvious for these original houses, because I think this is one of the most interesting slate of original haunted houses we've seen at Halloween Horror Nights in quite a while. Now, starting off strong on Friday, June 20th, 2025, we got announced El Artista, A Spanish Haunting as the first original haunted house coming to Halloween Horror Nights 34. In 19th century Spain, a tortured artist moves into an isolated country manor for inspiration, but the art comes alive and possesses him. Really excited for this haunted house, really excited for all the effects they're going to bring forth in this modern ghost story with this 19th century Spanish setting. Really excited how they bring Sergio Davaro, this new character, this new icon, if you will. That's up for debate, of course, but I think he's an icon. How they're going to bring his story to life, because again, this is one of those really story-driven haunted houses, and it is a return to a classic haunted house format for Halloween Horror Nights, the ghost story. Now, I did a full video talking about all the details they revealed with this haunted house announcement, including some of the concept art, the scenic design, and some of the background detail. That video is live on the channel right now, so I'm not going to talk too much about this Spanish haunting house right here. But moving ahead, we had our next original announced on Monday, June 23rd, 2025, and it was none other than Hatchet & Chains, The Demon Bounty Hunters. In this Old West town, all hell is breaking loose. Red-hot lava demons are trying to possess everyone, melting everything in their path. Really stoked to see this haunted house come to the event. I was a huge fan of the Hatchet & Chains section within Slaughter Cinema last year. I think there's just something about that Old West setting, especially how they're handling it here compared to previous houses, that just really captures my attention. The thing about Hatchet & Chains within Slaughter Cinema 2 is that it had a ton of energy, and I really want a lot of energy out of this haunted house. I really think the only way they could fumble Hatchet & Chains is not carrying that action-packed tone that we saw in Slaughter Cinema 2. So as long as we do that, I'm ready to be taken to the Old West. I'm ready to be taken on a wild ride, and I'm really excited for this haunted house. Now, while many expected a consecutive announcement on Tuesday, June 24th, the next haunted house would be announced the following day on Wednesday, June 25th. And this haunted house is titled Dolls Let's Play Dead. You're about to become doll-sized and be hunted by toys that have been burnt, melded, and stitched together by a twisted little girl. Now, like Hatchet & Chains, this is not the first time we've seen dolls or possessed toys at the event before. Most notably, we had a house back in 2014 at HHN 24 titled Dollhouse of the Damned, which featured possessed toys in a really creepy dollhouse atmosphere. And based on everything that's been said about this Let's Play Dead house, we're expecting a similar, not the same, but very similar feel. But based on the title and the image here, I think we're going for a little goofier take, but something that also could still be scary. You know, creepy dolls, creepy toys, they still freak people out. And if they really go for it with this Dolls Let's Play Dead house, I think we have a banger on our hands. I think we have a really great original to look forward to. Moving forward to Thursday, June 26th, we got, big shocker, another original haunted house announced for Halloween Horror Nights, titled Grave of Flesh. Welcome to your funeral, where things are about to go from bad to worse. You'll enter your grave and then the underworld, where flesh eaters who feed on the dead will hunt you for all eternity. Really love what's happening here with this key art. I love the kind of look we get at one of these flesh eater characters. Really hoping for some unique looks for these characters, and I hope not all of them look the same, like we get different versions of these flesh eaters. We are kind of going into their world deeper and deeper underground, which I hope this is one of those houses that builds as you go through it. So I'm really curious to see what Grave of Flesh brings forward, what kind of scenic capabilities we get, and what kind of scares we get as well, because I think this one's going to be really scary, possibly the scariest original, just because of the tight corridors, tight spaces. That part of it is really piquing my interest, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see for this one right here. Finally, on Friday, July 27th, we got announced Galkin Monsters of the North as our final original for this year's Halloween Horror Nights. In a remote northern village, a wicked being rises from the dead, bringing a horde of monsters and demons from the fjords to wreak havoc on the townspeople. You'll face icy, horned, winged, and wolfish fiends that gradually merge into one giant horror. Then, you'll try to escape the belly of the beast. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a haunted house that I am really excited for. I'm always a fan of these period / cultural, mythological haunted houses, and this seems to really be playing into that Norse mythology, or at least this kind of just general European mythology. But I really love the snowy village vibe for the setting of this haunted house. Of course, I loved Ghostbusters Frozen Empire last year, a cold house. I loved Dead Men's Pier a couple years ago, another cold house. And these monsters are really interesting because it seems like they have all these different monster types that'll eventually kind of merge together, possibly merging into this being that we see in the key art. This is another house that I just cannot wait for the scenic. I cannot wait to see how this house looks, but also how the scares and environmental detail come together to create one complete experience. Now those are the haunted houses themselves. We have a Spanish ghost story, we have demon cowboys, we have creepy dolls, we have undead flesh eaters, and we have Norse monsters. Right off the bat, I think we have a really impressive set of originals here. Each one of these seems like they have really strong potential to knock it out of the park when it comes to scenic and when it comes to scares. I think Halloween Horror Nights knows, especially with Orlando's event, that originals are a really key piece of making this event work. Something I do notice about these originals versus the ones we got last year is the focus on scares. These houses seem genuinely scary. I know that's kind of been the big complaint with Halloween Horror Nights recently, is that the event's not scary enough. Really, outside of Monstros, the Monsters of Latin America, I can't think of one original last year that was really scary. But this year it seems like they're focusing on the fear. In the Spanish haunting house, we are seeing ghosts brought to life in different ways that I think are really going to work, not just with the scenic, but also with the scares. As I mentioned, dolls and possessed toys are just generally creepy. Really focusing on that and giving us some unsettling imagery I think is going to make this house really scary. In the Grave of Flesh house, we are going underground underneath a cemetery, which I imagine is going to be very dark and very cramped. But even the houses that don't seem as scary as the others still seem like they're taking themselves seriously. And that's really exciting. But what excites me more than anything, as you know, I'm a big fan of lore, I'm a big fan of story threads and thematic connections. And it seems like this year's originals have a lot that tie them together. On the surface, we have the conservatory / just the general gothic theme of the event bleeding into many of these originals. The Spanish haunting is probably the most obvious example of this, as most of the paranormal activity happening in this artist's manor is coming straight up from the conservatory. Based on this and just how hard they are hyping up and promoting this haunted house, I think that El Artista a Spanish Haunting is going to be the clearest representation of the conservatory, of the gothic tones and textures we're seeing at the event within an original haunted house. But it's not just this one. Of course, Grave of Flesh takes place within a graveyard, something we are seeing throughout the visual language of this event, kind of fitting in to that gothic feel. In the extended description for Hatchet and Chains that can be found on the Discover Universal blog, we do know that we are going to be visiting a graveyard in this house. And in the extended description of Dolls Let's Play Dead, they do mention the house ending in a Victorian dollhouse. Again, kind of carrying over those gothic aesthetics, maybe in a different form, but bringing that vibe to life in another original house. Right off the surface, it feels like the graveyard gothic conservatory theme is much more present across all of these haunted houses than anything we saw last year. Now, the sort of atomic punk, skeleton punk feel did find its way into Slaughter Cinema 2, But outside of that, really any of those visuals, as well as the stuff that was coming from Sinister and Surreal, was really nowhere to be found in the actual haunted houses. This is a much more direct tie right on the surface. We have the conservatory with the Spanish haunting, we have graveyards, we have Victorian doll houses and general gothic feels. It's a lot more direct, and I think that's going to work better for the event as a whole. However, there is another connection that is a bit more subtle, which is that all of these original houses have something to do with demons and the undead in some fashion. While these are all different concepts and different themes, the idea of demons and possession and the afterlife are kind of a central theme to all of these haunted houses, in a way that we haven't really seen in quite a while, because looking at last year's lineup, for example, we had crazed killers, we had urban legends, we had mythological beasts, and we had a little bit of everything, specifically when it comes to Slaughter Cinema and the museum. It was a big mixture, and while I think that can work for Halloween Horror Nights, not all of the originals have to be tied together. I think it really helps if all the originals are tied together, especially if we are not receiving a capital I icon this year, but more of a general theme. The way to make a general theme work at Halloween Horror Nights, like let's say the 80s or classic Halloween, or in this case the conservatory, is to incorporate it in all aspects of the event. I'm talking houses, I'm talking scare zones, I'm talking live shows, food, merch, general atmosphere, and while we don't know a whole lot about those aspects of Halloween Horror Nights this year, we can see with the original slate that an attempt is being made to connect all these ideas together with one theme. And that is really exciting. Now, will this all pan out to be a truly interconnected story? Even maybe having references from haunted houses in other haunted houses that has been teased, especially when it comes to the artwork in the Spanish haunting. Honestly, only time will tell, but we won't have to wait a whole lot longer. We're just under 2 months away from Halloween Horror Nights beginning, and very, very soon we'll get to experience these original haunted houses and see what they bring forth. But until then, I want to know, what is your most hyped original haunted house coming to the event this year? I really am excited to talk with you guys about this because there are so many incredible sounding originals coming this year that it's really hard to pick a favorite. But for now, let's have that conversation. Let's get hyped down in the comments below. If you like videos like this one about Halloween Horror Nights 2025 and just Halloween Horror Nights of the past, present, and future, updates, analysis, essay-style breakdowns, and history, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Any support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I know this video kind of took a little while to get out there. I really wanted to organize my thoughts on all of these houses and really create those connections. Again, we'll have to wait and see how these connections actually pan out, but this is just really exciting. I feel like we are really being set up for an incredible original year, even when we have some really big IPs coming to this year's event, which is just really exciting in general. I'm sure it won't be too much longer until we get our next big house announcement, which will have to be one of the big IPs, right? I don't know, but until then, I want to thank you for watching this video right here. I will, of course, see you in the next one. But until then, stay spooky and take care, everybody.